welcome to the Level Up Your Band podcast, episode 57. Hello and welcome back to the Level Up Your Band podcast. My name is Gavin Patterson and I'm here with Julian Pombo.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm okay. I'm not too bad. I was very run down this week because I did a really silly thing.
You did a whoopsie.
Where I did a really big oopsie. I basically, long story short, I deleted like an entire, almost practically like an entire hard drive, and the computer just let me. It just went, okay, there you go. That's fine. It was terrifying.
I bet.
You know, because like I thought I was just deleting like 1 or 2, 3 videos. I didn't realize I had this whole big folder attached, and it just went, so, you know, it came up with this thing, and it was like, oh, some of these files are too
large,
are too big to recycle. Do you want to delete them? And I was like, I'm used to doing that, so I was like, yeah, like just get rid of them, you know. And then before I know it, the whole thing's gone, and I was just in shock. Like, but basically, I spent a couple of restless nights trying to recover everything. Recovered some important things, and then I had to make up for it with lots of editing and lots of recording during the middle of the week. Yeah. So I was pretty ragged by the end of it. But now things are good. Everything's fine. Everything's back to normal. We've got episodes still coming out on my YouTube channel, so that's fine. That was the only thing. And apart from that, doing a little bit of recording for Gavin. Obviously, in a safe way. Wasn't that his studio?
No, not
just
in
recording
a safe
stuff
way,
in the house.
not the supermarket safe way. Just in
yeah, just recording stuff at home and sending it away. So yeah. So how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I've just been trying to do upgrades on my PC. They're just running out of hard drive room and all that. So I was running out of hard drive room, had too much stuff, and then you were just delete all.
I was just deleting.
See, most
stuff,
people just buy another
crazy.
hard drive, Julian. They don't delete all their work. Like,
mate, it was just like because all of it is like uploaded on YouTube now. I was like, I don't have any use for this stuff.
No.
I can just get, you know. But
yeah. I do.
Anyway.
I do the same for the podcast because, you know, when it gets to you've got hundreds and hundreds of gigabytes worth of stuff, and like most of it's all uploaded, so just get rid of it.
Yeah, like video files as well, like are huge.
Yeah.
Like, they're so big, especially if you're recording for like half an hour to an hour. Anyway,
I think what we can learn or pass on knowledge, pass on wisdom is don't do that.
Don't do what I did.
Don't do that. If you have lots of data, you're doing videos or podcasts or recording, and it's precious to you, and you think it's worth a little bit of insurance money, say £50 a year, it's probably worth that, then subscribe to Backblaze. £50 a year, and it backs up your entire PC. It holds it for 30 days, so if you delete all, you can just go on your Backblaze account, and you can have, there's 2 options. You can download all the data that you lost. Now, if it's 3 terabytes, you're going to be there a while. So the option 2 is you send them a wee email. Hey, can you send me these files? And what they'll do is they'll send you a hard drive in the post. You can copy the stuff off their hard drive onto your hard drive and post it back, and it's free. Included with your £50 a month. No brainer.
Wow. I didn't know about that bit. That's crazy.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yep. So
that's really cool.
Do not if you are one of those people that has loads and loads of videos and data on their PC, and it's very precious to you, and if you lost it all, it would be a tragedy, and you don't back stuff up, what are you doing? You're driving a car without car insurance. You're just come on, just do it.
Yeah. I mean, luckily for me, like, there was no sentimental stuff. It was gaming videos.
Yeah, but can you imagine,
So,
like,
I was lucky, but imagine if I had, like, I have loads of pictures of, like,
family photos and stuff.
of, like, holidays and, like,
Yeah.
family stuff, and, like, just all be gone. So
Yep.
yeah, terrible.
So
Don't be like me. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about one-hit wonders. So it's a kind of a term that's kind of thrown about, and it's like, what even is it? Is it pertaining to a song? Is it pertaining to an artist?
yeah.
You know, should you strive to write one? Yeah, how do you write one? Anyway, like, we'll kind of get into that sort of. I won't give you the answer just now, but anyway, let's continue. So, according to the Oxford definition, it's a group or a singer that has had one hit record, right? Just one.
Yeah.
Nothing else, right?
Yeah.
But that's kind of vague, because there's lots of different little sort of kind of subcategories of one hit wonders, and one of the and they all happen for sort of different reasons.
Yeah.
So I was thinking back on, like, some one hit wonders that I knew, and I was thinking about ones that you would probably know as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I came up with these three. So we're going to be looking at kind of three different songs, and kind of basically talking about how and why they became hits in the first place. Mm-hmm. So the first one, it's your dad's favourite.
Yeah.
Right said Fred, I'm too sexy.
Terrible song.
Parentheses for my shirt. So, apparently, the story behind this, I've got it. I've got some more links open here so that I can have a look, just to remind myself, just more notes.
Uh-huh.
Basically, the song came about because of the two guys that are in the band, Fred Fairbrass and Richard Fairbrass, brothers.
Mm-hmm.
They're running a gym in London, and apparently there was a lot of sort of, like, you know, flexing of muscles. It was a proper like bro gym kind of gym, and one day Richard just took his shirt off and started singing "I'm Too Sexy for My Shirt" in front of a mirror as a bit of a joke, and they thought it was really funny, and they thought they'd try and write a song about it. And funnily enough, it started off as kind of like an indie kind of rock song. This is according to the source that I have here. And they sent it to people to try and see if they could get it played or get signed or something. And nothing. It was just constantly like, it was just being ignored by people left, right, and center, until it gets to this guy called Guy Holmes, who is a radio plugger. And he had the same reaction to everybody else. He was just kind of like, this song's terrible. It's not a good song. But the other people he was just playing it in a car stereo in his car, and there were other people there listening to the song, and they latched onto the hook that I'm a model, you know what I mean? And I absolutely loved it. So he was thinking about it more. He got in contact with the band and talked to them about reworking it as a dance track. And then I'm Too Sexy was born. Now, the thing is that as a song, it's hot garbage. I'm sorry. Your dad will hate me for saying this. It's not a good song. Like, if you know, like, it's not. There's nothing. There's nothing good there. The lyrics are absolute trash.
Like I said before, my dad thinks that ABBA is exotic because it's foreign. So that's basically the outer edges of my dad's musical taste. Is ABBA.
And I don't know if you like the mix is really bizarre. It's not a good mix
I haven't
at all.
paid attention to the mix, if I'm quite honest.
No, it's very much. It came out in '92, I want to say, something like that, and it's very much of its time. It feels it's quite a thin kind of sounding. It sounds like they just kind of put it together like as quickly as possible,
which they did,
and they put it out, and people just kind of loved it.
Bizarre phenomenon.
So it was just totally, but it was because it was like a novelty.
Yeah.
You know, you've just got this really butch, bald guy.
Yep.
Talking about how sexy he is for his shirt and all these other cities and for his pet cat. And the song even finishes by going, "I'm too sexy for this song," and it just cuts there. it's funny, but so that's your first kind of
interesting fact about them, which would blow your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Right Said Fred, with that single, were the first band to reach #1 slot in the US with a debut single since the Beatles.
Wow.
Just let that sink in. Yeah. They arrived in America. The very first single got to #1, and no one had done that since 1963, the Beatles, or 1964, whenever it was.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's been used in loads of television series.
Even to this day, you still hear it in adverts and things.
Totally. Yeah. It's just a big joke. But yeah, so the novelty one-hit wonder is quite a common one. Like, I want to say it's like there's loads of like Christmas novelty songs that just became big, and then the artist never released anything ever again.
Yep.
It happens quite a lot.
Charity
even
singles, stuff like
that. Charity singles. Even like something, but even then, some charity singles are like forgettable. I'm thinking more songs like "I'm Blue."
Yeah.
You know, "I'm Blue." Like that's just like it's just a goofy song.
Yeah.
But just people latched onto it. So that's your first kind of one, your novelty song. The next one's kind of like an in between.
All right. Okay.
It's kind of a hybrid because there's a bit of novelty to it, and that's "Video Killed the Radio Star" by the Buggles, which I never knew that's how you pronounce that name.
Okay.
I thought for ages it was the Bugles, but it's a play on the Beatles.
Okay.
They were just like, we need to come up with a name, and they thought the Bugs, and then somebody as a joke said, "Oh, the Bugs will never be better than the Beatles."
Yep.
And they were like, "Oh, the Buggles, brilliant." So it's just a really stupid in-joke. But the difference here is that the novelty part of "Video Killed the Radio Star" is that it was the very first song to have a music video on MTV. I thought that was kind of a myth, but it's for real. It's like
makes sense. I mean, the title of the song
but
is
I don't
literally...
know that it wasn't originally written with that in mind. It was kind of like just a very happy coincidence.
Really?
Like, it was written by somebody. It's been released twice. The most famous version is by the Buggles. It was written by a guy who knew Trevor Horn and Jeff Downes from the Buggles. It was written by a guy called Bruce Woolley, and he recorded it first in 1970. The same year, 1979. So there's two versions of the song. I personally like the Buggles version. It's just very kooky, and it's really cool, actually. It's quite sort of ahead of its time. Like, and it's very busy. There's a lot of things going on. Orchestral parts, like synths. Apparently, it's got like the loudest, driest bass drum on any track up until that point. Because there was apparently they struggled to get that. Like they wanted a really punchy, like kick drum kind of sound, which was very difficult to do at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's got that novelty element of the whole MTV thing.
Absolutely.
First music video, that kind of was one of the things that it took off. But again, it's also a very well written song. Even now, like listening back to it, I mean, it sounds old. Like, don't get me wrong, it sounds like of the period, but it's kind of aged quite well in the same way that, you know, it's the same way with like some video games, you know, like you can, like there's some video games that are really old, like for me, like Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, right? That came out in like 2002.
Mm-hmm.
That thing's ancient.
Yeah.
At this point, right? But the original GameCube game still looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Right? It looks, because it's so it's got such a I don't know, just the art direction is so defined, and it's so I don't know, it's timeless.
Yeah.
It's just timeless. It's like, it doesn't matter what year it is. Like, it's always going to look good.
I was just talking about that actually about an hour ago.
Yeah.
With regards to The Lord of the Rings, which was filmed 20 years ago, 21 years ago. They started filming that in 1999. And those films they have aged like the finest whiskey you've ever had. It's just they're so well aged. Like
and totally. Yeah.
I'm gonna say something controversial.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would say, like, you get one-hit wonders in music. I would say the Lord of the Rings trilogy is Peter Jackson's one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
Has he made a film, an original film, that is anywhere near as good as that?
Well, I would extend that to George Lucas as well. You know, I don't think he's made a good film since like hit that trilogy, like New Hope to Return of the Jedi, flawless.
Yep.
Right. The prequels, no, and then like Force Awakens was just the New Hope again.
Yeah.
I saw the episode 8, and we were both just kind of like,
yeah. I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of Peter Jackson films. The only Peter Jackson film that I saw that blew me away as much, well, maybe not as much, but in the same kind of way that The Lord of the Rings did, was the First World War film, which was just footage from World War One that he colorized and tidied up, and it was an amazing. He sort of made a narrative from all the recordings, and that was great. But it's not really original material, to be fair.
No, he's not really directing. Well, he kind of is in a way, but it's not. It's more like music.
Like he did King Kong, and it was just. Ugh.
Yeah.
And people are going to send hate for that. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, does anyone like The Hobbit? Really? It's all right.
Hobbit. There's a. This is going to turn to a film podcast.
Oh, I know. Right?
There is a super cut out there, which is just somebody took all 3 of the Hobbit films, cut it up, and made it one film,
which is what it should have been.
Yeah, and totally. Yeah, I mean, I've said this before, but I was like, oh no. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll talk about this at the end. We'll talk about this after we finish the episode, because I'm just gonna go down a whole rabbit trail. Anyway, so yeah, this one's kind of blurring the lines. But the thing about the Buggles was that they released that one song, and I don't know that they ever. It was more of a studio project, and this came out at a time where, you know, to really make money, you were supposed to go out and gig stuff and play it, and they didn't really do that. They did they would just want you to do studio. It's really weird. I think that if the Buggles had waited 30 years, they would have probably been a little bit more successful.
What do you mean?
Because that's what I'm saying is that with internet streaming and stuff like that, like you can just have a studio project and basically never gig ever if you wanted to. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. Maybe
I
right
mean,
now.
this is level up your band, but like what I'm saying is for what they wanted to do, which was create music in a studio. Like the music that they were creating was very difficult to reproduce on stage.
I see what you mean. Yeah. I guess like because of course back then you had to gig loads to promote your album, whereas now you have to promote your album so that you can sell tickets to gigs. It's kind of reversed. Not during COVID. Now no one's making any money at anything. So, but when things go back to normal, that's still the model, as far as I'm aware. That's something that like in general, like that is something we will always be looking at. Me and Julian. I mean, for the podcast, we'll be constantly seeing if things are changing. Like the whole thing that's changing just now, like we mentioned recently, was the artists releasing exclusively on one platform that you have to pay for, like Bandcamp. If you want to listen to this album for the next month of release, you have to pay for it, and then after that it goes up to the streaming services. So like if we see any trends happening like that, we will report it here, folks.
Yeah, but I'd imagine that's what the Buggles would be doing now. You know, if they had released that, if they've been recording, like that's how they would be working.
Probably.
You know, and that's how a lot of musicians work.
I know loads of people who hate gigging. They just love being in the studio.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah.
See, Rob Shearer,
totally.
who's been on the podcast, his favourite thing in the whole world is recording. He just loves being in the recording studio, just making music. He likes gigging as well, but his favourite thing of all is like recording. He just loves that. Some people are the opposite. Some people hate the process. Hate it.
I like rehearsing.
Yeah.
I'm that weirdo. Anyway, and now we have the one that is basically just nobody was expecting it. Like, what's happening? That's Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba. You've heard this song?
No. What is
No? I get knocked down.
Oh, right.
And I get up again. Yeah, that song.
I didn't know that was what it was called.
Really annoying song. The band's called Chumbawamba, and the song's called Tub Thumping.
I remember it. When did that come out? Like the 90s or something?
Let me have a look.
I remember it being at school and it was playing all the time.
Yeah, Tub Thumping. It didn't make number one. It made number two, but still, that was 97.
Okay,
it got released. It was a whole thing. Like if you heard Chumbawamba's stuff before Tub Thumping, you wouldn't expect them to ever have a hit. It's very difficult kind of. It's very niche music. They're basically an as I wrote there, an avant-garde anarcho-communist punk band. It's a thing. Like they all lived in the same house, just making music. Right. And yeah, and all their stuff is really anti-authority, like the whole lot, and their music is really out there as well.
Yeah.
And even this song like has things that you wouldn't expect to work. Like it's like alt rock kind of. It's got like the alt rock guitars and like drums and stuff, and it has like hip hop sections and stuff in between, and then the classic, you know, the gang vocals. I get knocked out. Yeah. We're good. It turns out it's a song about the struggles of the ordinary folk, basically. It's probably like thematically, it's like one of their more chilled out kind of songs. It's still got those sort of like communist socialist kind of themes in there, but it's a bit more.
It's
a bit more subtle.
If I remember, and I'm relying on my old memory, like childhood memory. If I remember right, that song was heavily associated with football. Like it was played at.
Yes, it was featured in FIFA 98.
Yes, that's what it is.
That's
why.
why.
Yeah.
That's why.
It was heavily influenced or heavily featured along with football. Kind of works.
The band did all sorts of crazy stunts surrounding this song as well. Like they encouraged their fans to steal. This is like the anti-authoritarian bit kicking in, right? The anarcho bit.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, just if you can't afford it, just steal it from HMV or wherever you are. Virgin Media Stores. Just steal it. It's fine. We can totally condone it. At which point Virgin and HMV just went, right, we need to, like, people need, like, you had to, like, go up to the desk and just be like, I'd like to buy Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba, please. And it'd be like, okay, there you go. Oh my God. They had to keep them behind the till. Oh, it's crazy.
It's funny. So that's
anyway,
pirating before digital straight up stealing.
Yeah. just straight up stealing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just from the big chains though. You know, they were like, smaller chains, please don't do that. But the big record stores, go ahead. It's all good. But you would never expect it to become a single. I don't think they ever expected it to become a single. They have a pretty good relationship with the song though. What usually tends to happen is a lot of these bands, like the ones that I'm mentioning here, all three of them, they're quite happy with their songs. Like there's other bands that later go on to be really resentful of their hits. Like Radiohead and Creep is a really famous example. You know, like they just got sick of it. Same thing with the Vapors and I'm Turning Japanese. That's a really old one.
Yeah.
They just had enough of it. But what happened to these bands after they suddenly got successful overnight? Nothing. Basically. It's sad, but like the band is never remembered.
Uh-huh.
You just remember the song.
Right.
You know? Which is a shame. Like I know I'm scared of inciting the wrath of the Right Said Fred, the Buggles, and the Chumbawamba fans that listen to this podcast, but or anybody else, you know. But really, like it's kind of sad. But
from what I can see, just by looking at these three examples you've given, you have one that they were not in the music industry whatsoever, and they came up with this song, and for a laugh, they recorded it,
dumb.
and they accidentally got successful. That's Right Said Fred, right?
Yeah.
That's they had no intention of being a hit. They just wanted to release this song for a laugh, and it ended up doing really well. The Buggles seemed to be they cared about their music and spent time in the studio getting it right, but the problem, like, there's this saying, they say everyone's got a book in them and that's where it should remain. Some people have only got a chapter. You know, they had this really great chapter, and then people like, any more? And we're like, nope. It's like it's just that's it. And it just happened to be like they've just got no more material, they've got nothing else to give. Because you can get another band that releases as equally a good song, but they've got a whole well of songs to come.
Yeah, like that's not to say that the Buggles are like that's not to say that Trevor Horn and Jeff Downes are bad musicians. Like, they're great. They went on to do some really cool stuff. They even collaborated with Yes and played with loads of other bands. So, like,
I would say that's more the case,
like, they're
for
good.
Right Said Fred. The whole. Have you got any more? Nope.
We can write another song that's exactly the same.
They had two.
But
they had two songs as far as I'm aware. Right Said Fred. There was that and stupid song. I can't remember the name of it. Doesn't matter.
I'm looking here.
Tell me.
They wrote a song for Comic Relief called "Stick It Out," and they've re-released "I'm Too Sexy" loads of times. They've done like different styles, different mixes. It's like Vanilla Ice and his Ice Ice Baby. Did you know there's a metal version of Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice?
Okay.
But it's Vanilla Ice, like, performing it. It's not like a metal band. It's Vanilla Ice, but it's metal, you know. And it's not like metallic. It's like proper like thrash metal. It's weird,
right?
But that's basically what they ended up doing. They just re-released the song the song a whole bunch and did different mixes and all that stuff.
There's another sort of one hit wonder. It's one in Scotland. Sandy Tom. Do you remember her?
Yes.
So that was the song 2006. I Wish I Was a Punk Rocker with Flowers in My Hair. And she didn't write it, which doesn't help. And from what I've heard just through the grapevine, she wasn't particularly that great of a singer. As far as I'm aware, didn't write her own stuff at that time. And it came out and it was like a huge hit. And they couldn't follow up on it because they just happened to strike onto a winning combination with that song, and it just couldn't maintain itself after that. That seems to be a recurring theme with one hit wonders. That there's nothing left to give.
Occasionally they just like, you know, they know when to, you know, like just go, okay, that's it, that's done. And that's it. That's Chesney Hawkes. I Am the One and Only. I am the one. It's the only song he's ever written. He wrote it and then didn't write anything else, and that's the only song he plays, and that's the only song he tours. He's a genius, right? He's the only one that's done it right.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure people have asked him to write another song. He's like, no.
Right, okay.
He gets booked for festivals just to go and perform that one song.
That's amazing.
And he does it flawlessly.
So that's a proper one-hit wonder. That's proper.
Yeah, that's you know, yes, that's a guy who's doing it properly. But the reason I picked these bands was because I think they wanted to do, well, definitely Chumbawamba ended up doing quite a lot after that. They kept writing and releasing music until 2012.
Yeah. The thing in their case is similar to Dream Theater in that they accidentally created a mainstream hit.
Yeah.
And they're not mainstream. Yeah. It's the same as Dream Theater. They accidentally got a hit. They're a prog metal band. They're not mainstream at all. And they accidentally made a hit. And now everyone expects hits from them. And then when they don't deliver, it's like, oh, they're rubbish.
Yeah. Not much has happened to them. Answering the question, should you try or write a hit? It's a bit loaded. It's a bit of a loaded question because I kind of want to say, well, you should be striving to write the best material that you can write.
Yes.
Right? But that's different from trying to write a hit. You should try and write your best material, but don't try and please people because it never works. The example I've got written here, it's like trying to force a meme, if that makes sense. For the young kids out there, you know, like an internet meme is a pure...
It's natural.
Like, it's beautiful. It's like just... accidental. It appears and it's glorious and it gets developed and then it dies. You know, it has a life cycle.
Yeah.
Right? You don't like you know, it's like species and like evolution and stuff. Like a mutation will happen, and then that animal will live and thrive. There's some memes that are still alive today and they haven't died yet, and really resilient. And then there's some variants that will just like become extinct.
Yeah.
But you can't go into it's kind of the same. Like, you can't go into a lab and try and splice things together and try to create this new super meme. It never works. It's kind of the same. You never force a meme.
Yeah.
Because people know it's forced and people don't jump on it.
There's a good example,
People don't
a good
like it.
Analogy. So I think the term meme was coined by Richard Dawkins.
It was, yeah.
Because he's a
which is just
evolutionary
French
biologist.
Mem. Yeah.
So he thought that he sort of proposed that memes, and basically one-hit wonders are memes. So a meme acts in the same way as a gene does. So a meme, like a gene, is it's a collection of data or information that gets passed down and is subject to mutation and evolves. So a meme is an idea that passes between individuals, people, and that idea can morph and shift and change. And if it survives, then, like natural selection, it passes the test of being worth passed on, and it doesn't. If it dies, then it wasn't worth passing on. If it was really good, then it gets passed on. So what you get is a collection of memes, if they're around long enough, that they're really, really potent. You can get really, really potent ones. The more people that pass it around, the better. It's kind of like cows, right? We're on animals again.
Amazing.
Cows.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Cows are not real.
It's like dogs. Dogs don't exist.
Cows are unnatural. They are man-made. Cows were developed over thousands and thousands of years by human beings for a purpose. They are descendants and cousins of ox and bison and all that stuff. So the original cow, if you will, if you could see it nowadays, it had a real big front end, big front shoulders, huge shoulders, and
imposing, and a terrifying beast,
and a tiny little back end. Whereas now cows are the opposite. They've got a big back end and small front end because they need all the mass and the weight and the meat at the back for milk and beef production. And as a result, cows are really, really bad at living in the wild. They're crap. They would all die because the calves are too big. Most of them would die in childbirth without, or calf birth, without the help of a human. Their feet are all wrecked because they've been, just their species has changed. It's like pugs. Pugs are just an abomination. So my point is, if you want a real efficient, really good meme, you've got to let it develop naturally, like natural selection. Like give me an example of an animal. A lion, a tiger. Those are naturally occurring animals that were shaped by natural selection. Whereas dogs and cows and pigs and sheep are made by humans, and they have loads of genetic problems because they've been messed with. Because farmers have selected traits like this sheep yields more wool, so we'll breed this one, and the one that doesn't, we don't breed it, and we select breeds. That's what genetically modified means. Genetically modified. It doesn't mean you pump it full of genetics or something. It means you just select the animals you think are best for production, and then what happens is you get byproducts. And it's the same with songs.
Genetically modified. You just put genes on it,
Yeah.
There you go. It's done.
It's genetic. I'm genetically modified today.
Same, bro. Like 100%.
So it's the exact same.
Some grey genes.
It's exactly the same for songs. You let the
it
ideas
totally is.
Naturally flourish in the band setting. You're just always going to end up with a better song than if you sit and try and manufacture things. And
Which is, and it's one of the reasons that, like, this is touching back on the Dream Theater episode, that they had such a rough time.
Oh, yeah.
Was that because they were just like, write another one. Make another one.
Yeah.
And they were like, we can't reproduce it.
No.
We just did it.
Yeah.
And people seemed to like it at the time, don't go chasing fads and things like that.
Yeah.
Just keep if you get a number one, brilliant.
Yeah.
Right? Just do what Chumbawamba did, and they basically just kept going and kept doing their own thing. Because of course they did, because they're avant-garde and anarcho-communists. They didn't care. They kind of in a way they kind of had the right attitude.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sort of like, yeah, we got this one hit. Excellent. We'll just
keep doing what we're doing.
We'll just keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And if people still like it, they like it. And if people don't like it, if it and if people are only listening to tub thumping, well, that's fine. Just let them listen to tub thumping.
Yeah. I've had very little exposure to the songwriting world. I've got a friend who has a deal with a company that basically you write songs for this company, and then they have artists signed, like Beyonce, people like that, and they're signed up to this agency, and teams of songwriters are writing constantly, and then Beyonce's team will select songs from this agency and then use that for her next album. That's kind of how it works in this sort of manufactured industry that is pop. And my friend, he writes a lot of songs for this type of thing. He's with a particular agency, and he was writing a song that was requested by a Korean artist for a Christmas song. And he had a set of rules he had to abide by. So it had to be a certain key. That's fair enough. She's got a certain range. She wants, she's famous, really, really famous in Korea. She's a K-pop star. And he's like, okay. So he's got a tempo. He's got a key. They even gave like 2 or 3 songs that they wanted it to sound like. And they said, like, we want it to have the high note, in the bridge before the last chorus. We want a high note, just like Mariah Carey. We want it to have a bop, boom, ba 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 boom, ba ba, like Britney Spears. We wanted to. It was so like this massive document saying this is exactly what we want, and they had like 100 my friend was one of them, like probably like 100 writers all writing songs, and then they all get fired in at a deadline, and then her team listen to every single one and then pick. It's just that would just destroy my mentality. It's just like so bad. Like I couldn't do that. Imagine just like that sounds like a flipping uni.
I would be the worst because I would just be the only bits that I would be paying attention to for the briefing is key, tempo, and then everything has to be going nah.
Yeah,
it would just be like. So, but then again, who knows? Maybe like even throwing something.
It's not just a song.
Completely different.
They had to make a production. So my friend comes in with a song, and they're like, we want it to sound like this. And he had to book studio time, and we recorded drums and like the whole thing to send them off this demo. This is what we think it could sound like if you took it. And of course, they would re-record the whole thing with other musicians. But
yeah, they want a good sounding demo.
A really good sounding demo, which is why you should always level up your DAW skills because that helps. But I just find it wild because that was just a little insight for me into what it must be like to write for the mainstream. It's just hell on earth. Like it's music designed by a committee, not by human beings. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So sterile and yuck. Not my cup of tea at all. I'd much rather get in a rehearsal studio and jam out some stuff with a band. It's just so much more natural, more human.
Yeah, totally. 100% agree with you. Well, that was an interesting kind of...
That was cool.
If you want to learn more about one-hit wonders, I would like to point you to another YouTube channel called Todd in the Shadows. He has a series called One Hit Wonderland.
Okay.
It's like 80-something videos.
Damn.
He's done loads, and it's a very like it's loads of different songs, including he did a really fascinating one on 500 Miles. That old chestnut that gets played at weddings all the time.
It's not. They're not a one-hit wonder, are they? The Proclaimers.
Well, in the US, they are.
Suppose,
the guy's American.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Like in Scotland, it's like
Yeah,
Proclaimers. What are you talking about? They're like the biggest band ever.
To be fair, they have 2 hits, big, massive hits.
Yeah.
I'm on my way was in Shrek. You know, it's
totally, exactly. Although to be fair, I've listened to some of the Proclaimers back catalogue. It's not bad.
The Proclaimers are absolutely genius. Absolutely genius. They're such good musicians. It's such a good band. They're like I don't particularly like their music, but see when they're up performing, I've been to see them live. They just absolutely nail every performance. They're just they're so tight. They're so together. Their performance is always top notch. Great band as well. Don't mock the Proclaim. No, I don't particularly like them, but you can't fault them. They're really, really true to themselves. Yeah, bit of a meme band as well.
Yeah, totally. But there you go. That's that was an interesting episode. Basically, don't aim to write a hit. Just write it, and if you get one, don't try and reproduce it. Just ride the wave until you wipe out, basically.
Correct.
It's the best. It's the best kind of way you can sort of go about it. You know, if you get, if it happens that one of you guys listening to this podcast gets a hit, please let us know. First of all, we'd be curious. We'd like to know.
Yeah.
And second of all, just ride the wave. If you've got like EMI or somebody else being like, you need to make another one, tell them to go piss off and keep doing your thing.
Yep.
That's what we say.
Yeah, that's what we say.
You heard it. You heard it first.
Okay, so yeah, that was fun. So I've got an idea for next week. Kind of not related. It's kind of related to the whole like music should be less sterile kind of tangent. That we're gonna talk about a phenomenon that happens to creatives when they're in their zone. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Talk about it next time.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah. So, as always, if you're enjoying the podcast, please leave us a review and rating and share with as many people as you can. It'd be really cool to get the podcast out to as many people as possible. And we have a collection of helpful PDFs on the website, which you can download for free at levelupyourband.com. The usual gear, affordable gear list, some music theory sheets, and a studio jargon worksheet. So if you're in the studio and somebody's shouting terms at you that you've never heard before and it just doesn't make any sense, then there's a PDF with some basic studio jargon terms that people always throw around, and I've put in English translation, which will be quite handy for a lot of people. We're on YouTube as well, so we release the video from Zoom, so you can watch our lovely faces as well as our lovely voices in tandem.
Yeah, and you can leave us comments there as well, and we'll read them.
Well, yeah, that's the thing about podcasting. There's no comments, so if you have comments, some people comment on YouTube, some people comment on Instagram. Just pick whatever you want. I mean, we're on both, so yeah,
totally.
So, that is One Hit Wonders.
That's that.
And we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.